What's up, everybody? This is the Real Life Stories. Again, I'm Raphael, always here to talk to you at least once or twice a week. And today I have Ashley Nicole. She is a journalist in the sports industry. She's someone I've been following for quite some time, and I think she's an interesting personality. So I wanted to bring her on and talk to her about her place in the industry and just what she sees going on in sports. So thank you for coming, Ashley. I definitely appreciate your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
No, it's definitely my pleasure. So, as always, we're going to jump right in, and I just want you to maybe tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get so involved in sports that you're actually a journalist today?
How I got started in sports, I did not grow up watching sports, and I did not go to college and study sports. My journey to sports was just something I kind of fell into, and from there, my passion, just my passion as I grew to like sports, I started my own website, just a little dinky website that didn't go anywhere. And I had a Twitter account, but I never used it. And one day on Twitter, I just happened to be on Twitter, and I would just like post my articles or whatever that nobody would read. But one day, Robert Littell from Black Sports Online read some of my articles, and he followed me on Twitter. I had like maybe 2 Twitter followers at the time, and I was like, oh, this huge guy with this big website liked my stuff, and he invited me to cover something live. I covered NASCAR All-Star Weekend in Charlotte. This was 2 years ago, and from there, I was the first writer he brought on for Black Sports Online, which I don't think a lot of people know, but I was the first writer he brought along. So it's been since then. I've just been working.
Yeah, I didn't know you were the first one that was brought on. It's actually pretty cool. So before we talk about that, since you weren't originally introduced to sports at a young age, just like so many others, so many other journalists started watching sports when they were young, watching it with their parents.
They grow
How
up
did you get
watching him.
involved?
How did I get involved in sports?
Yeah.
Um, my mother got sick when I was 19, and I was 19 years old. I had graduated high school, and I wasn't in school. I was just home all the time, and I was sad, because she eventually passed on. So I had nothing to do. I had no one to talk to. I didn't have a lot of friends, and the only thing that was ever on TV was sports. And I grew up with a single dad. My parents divorced when I was very young, so I grew up with a single dad. And even though people were like, oh, you should have grown up watching sports, I was a tomboy, but I had no athletic gene in me whatsoever. So the only thing that was on was sports. So one day I just caught a game with my dad, and it just made me feel better. And that game was the Lakers-Celtics finals. And it was the first time I watched it. It was funny because I actually watched it in 2008. Just for no reason. I just actually just watched it. And then the next year, my mom got sick. The Lakers were back in the finals, and they were playing the Magic. And I actually knew a little bit about the Lakers because I had watched the year before. Don't ask me why. I think I was just flipping channels, and I was like, I know Kobe Bryant. Like I didn't know anybody. And from that point on, I just became utterly obsessed. And I taught myself everything. Everything I taught myself.
Really? So what did you do to teach yourself? Like what steps did you have to take to kind of educate yourself about sports as a whole?
Well, the good thing was, with the NBA Finals, so I had the whole summer, like there's no sports in the summer besides baseball. I had pretty much the whole summer to catch up, read everything, study everything. And what NBA TV would do was they would air a lot of, because they have like to fill time, they would air a lot of old games, like games from like years ago, NBA classics. So I would watch those, and they would have like a lot of documentaries. I would watch, like I was so, I used to have a notebook and just write down, oh, Dr. J, like the 70s, the different eras of the game. Like I studied so much, and then slowly but surely my Twitter like knowledge started to pick up, and I started tweeting, and I was really allowed on Facebook too. Like I started joining all these sports groups. A lot of, I grew to be a Lakers fan, so I started becoming friends with a lot of Laker fans, I should say, and I grew a little mini following on my own. They were like, "Oh, you're the girl who always talks sports and tries to debate people." I was so big on debating. That was my favorite element of sports, and I was like, "I'm good at this. I know what I'm talking about, and people listen to me." That was a good feeling for me, and so yeah, it just everything just clicked.
Okay, I definitely like that. So since you took sports from a historical aspect to kind of teach yourself more about the game, what era of sports is your favorite? Like if you could sit down and just watch games or watch personalities from one era, who would you watch or what time period would you watch and why?
It depends on the sport. Baseball, I would say, since I'm a Yankees fan, my favorite era of Yankees is that 95, off the cusp, of just an utterly horrific 1980s era. And coming into our own, we get Joe Torre as manager to, I would say, about 2000, almost the end of the era, up until, 9/11 when we played the Diamondbacks in that year. Even though we lost the World Series, 2001 year is something that really stands out in my mind. And so I would say pretty much that era, that 1995, 2000 era for baseball. For basketball, I would say the early 2000s, those Laker years, those rivalries. I sound like a fangirl right now, but I choose what's near and dear for me. And the rivalry with the Kings, I think that is very interesting. And the stories that came out, I'm a big fan of like myth stories and like conspiracies. And there's so many conspiracies about the Lakers and the Kings. Eastern Conference, Western Conference Finals that came out. Was Kobe poisoned? Did Phil Jackson use some kind of mind tricks? There's like a lot of there's so many conspiracies. I can go on for days, but I think those are some great eras. As far as NFL is concerned, I'm loving the today's era right now. The high scoring, running quarterback kind of era of NFL. I think I'm really digging that. So as far as eras are concerned, those are my favorites. Sorry, I took my glasses off.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
But yeah,
Okay, that's definitely
thanks.
good. What sports do you cover? I know you just mentioned the NBA. You mentioned Major League Baseball and the NFL as well. So, what sports do you cover, and what do you have a favorite? Like, is there anything stands out more than others?
Um, what's I cover I like pretty much everything. I am a staunch soccer hater because I say it is un-American to like soccer. So I think everything besides soccer. But I did watch Team USA win the other day, and I was on the bandwagon tweeting USA, USA. But I like everything. I like hockey. I like tennis. I dig it all. I watch some NASCAR. So, but I tweet primarily about what's big. Baseball, basketball, football. You have to cater to the people.
Okay. I'm not
And
gonna
I
let that
love
one go. I'm
boxing, by the
not.
way. I
I'm
love
not.
boxing. I cover so much boxing. I have to mention it.
Okay, no, that's definitely something we can talk about too as well. But before we do, I can't let the soccer comment go with, especially with the World Cup going on right now. So you say you don't enjoy soccer as much because you feel as if it's more un-American to enjoy. I know you're not being serious, but what is it about soccer that you don't really like?
That I don't like about soccer, nothing really. It's just, we don't grow up watching that here. And I don't know, it's just fun to antagonize and make fun of what we don't know and to be an arrogant American sometimes. Sorry, my laptop keeps like getting crooked. Can you see me? All right. But yeah, as far as soccer goes, it's just all for fun, all good fun. I don't. There's nothing I dislike about it, but what I can say is I actually prefer the women's team over the men's team any day.
Now that I can agree with.
The
I was
women
actually
play,
talking
I get so into it.
that I can agree with that because they definitely play more intense soccer. I believe at least, so that I
And
can
they get
definitely agree with you
so
on that.
passionate about it. I just love it.
Yeah. Who are some of the personalities that stand out to you most, just in sports in general? Who are some of the people that you like reading about or you like studying on your own?
I mean, I'm a very on the field, on the court type of person. I don't like a lot of gossip, but as far as personality goes, I like I who I like LeBron. LeBron's journey, I used to be a staunch negative LeBron fan, but his journey and his maturation before our eyes is something that I'm loving seeing, and I hope he keeps that up. The one thing I do have to say about LeBron, he has a tendency to care a little too much about what people think about him. Someone so great as him doesn't have to be so concerned about the opinions and naysayers of nobodies. So that's a little disappointing. But overall, LeBron, I don't know. In particular, there's so many personalities. A lot of people who do the wrong thing on social media. So there's a lot more wrong than right as far as athletes and personalities go. But I always admired Derek Jeter's approach. He's personable, but doesn't let you in too much. He does just the right amount to get people in. I like quiet confidence. I don't like rah rah kind of people. But at the same time, I don't like people who are too quiet either. So as long as they have that good blending of personable and not letting all their business out there, I think they're good. But there's no athlete in particular.
Okay, now when you were talking about LeBron, you actually brought up the fact that he cares too much about the opinion that people have of him. I'm going to use that to kind of segue into something else. Being a female journalist, what are some of the struggles that you had to deal with when dealing with the opinions of an industry that is dominated by men?
Just things that I struggle with. There's when you work, people know you're there working. I have heard stories of girls like getting mistaken for being a cheerleader or something like that. They think like you're not a journalist. Why are you here? But once you establish yourself, you come prepared. You look like you're working because you are working, and you show that you're serious. You don't get too many people bothering you, but you do have to establish yourself the second you go on an assignment, and you do have to work 10 times harder. I do have to say that, because if you look like you're off your game, it's going to show, and you're going to be the only one in a crowd full of men who has to prove themselves. And it comes down to everything: the way I dress when I cover an event, the way I look, the way I present myself, the way I speak. I have to be conscious of every little thing. And I know no man has to go through that. And, it's just, it's good and it's bad. It's good to stand out, but at the same time, everybody is watching you. What I tweet, what I put on Instagram, everything is always monitored. I've had instances where I've had to take photos down because it could be perceived negatively. So I know a guy, doesn't have to go through these things. I was like, I have to wear blazers sometimes. The shape of my body looks too, is deemed too sexual. So you have to think in a proper way, very professionally, and be realistic. Like, you are going to be around a bunch of men. So maybe wearing a tight dress and high heels isn't the smartest thing to do when you're covering a boxing match. You know what I mean? So it's little things.
So, do you have like any stories that kind of stand out to like where you may have been perceived the wrong way, or like you had to go above and beyond where you think some others may have had and kind of easier route when out on assignment?
I'm not going to name specific events, but it happens all the time when people give you your business card, and the people who give you their business card with the intention of you just wanting to, connect, not professionally. I've had that so many times, and I've had busted, meetings with people, and it's like, oh, they promise you something, but oh, can you come down here and meet me, and I'll give you a place to spend the night. You can do these interviews. Like, I've had people say this stuff, that stuff to me, like just wildness, and it's just, you have to be smart. You have to think. I've had guys call me and say, oh, we need you to do something. You don't need me to do anything. Just little things like that.
Yeah, that's definitely got to be something tough to go through. As a journalist yourself, who are some of the other journalism personalities that you enjoy watching, like both male and female? Who kind of stands out to you the most as someone that you enjoy partaking what they put out?
There's so many. I'm not a big Aaron Andrews fan. you know, nothing against her. I'm just, you know, I don't think anything particularly about her stands out. But I've always respected her approach and her handling of her, you know, of her looks and the way she's perceived. I always thought she was very professional about that. A personal inspiration of mine is actually Molly McGrath, whose story I just found out about. How like she went to Boston College and you know she worked her way up. Like she really hustled her way through the industry and she worked her you know her ass off. She produced, edited her own show from school and worked her way up from the Celtics organization, being a you know, just like sideline reporting, and now she's on Fox and she has her own TV show. So like I look at people like that as my inspiration. Once I find out people's stories and they're relatable for me, you know, it really stands out. And her story is really inspiring. I'm trying to think of some other stories. Stuart Scott is another person who really inspires me. There's so many. There really is. I'm just thinking like in my head right now. Uh, oh my gosh, I like Michelle Beadle, of course. Michelle Beadle's awesome, and she shouted me out, so that gives her brownie points too. She's very kind. Clarissa Thompson, who I met, she was very very friendly, very down to earth. And you know, there's so many, especially for women. If you seek them out, you know, instead of people like to make fun of people like Jamel Hill, but you know, besides the ridicule, when you once you find out that these people worked their way up, graduated top of their classes, and went on to do great things. Like how many people know that Carrie Champion is almost 40 years old? You know, there's a reason why a lot of these people are like older. It's because it takes time to get to the top. Everybody thinks, "Oh, I know sports. I can work for ESPN." It takes time. So I think that's a big misconception people have, that it's so easy to do this job. It's not.
Is it a community that you think that is very embracing of each other? Like when you reach out to some of the people that you just named, are they like welcome to help you, or do you feel as if it's kind of still hard for you to break into that group?
Yes and no. I mean, people will connect with you. People are very welcoming and very open and receptive. But the thing at the end of the day is, if you're not willing to help yourself, you're not going to get far in anything. So it's not even just this industry; it's everything. And I must say that I've I've gotten so much help. I've gotten more help than most people. You know, that's why I branched out and I have my own website now, geeksandcleats.com, because you know I've done networking, I've done you know the handing out of business cards, and I realized that the only place I'm going to go somewhere is if I give myself the opportunity. I've covered pretty much every sport you can think of. I'm only 24 years old. I just turned 24 years old. I live in Manhattan. I'm in the midst of things, and I have to branch out and take my responsibility of my own career, and I've done that because I know I have the connections, I have the backing, but it's up to yourself to want to take that next step, and I've done that, and I hope that people realize that it takes help, but ultimately the responsibility falls upon yourself. How badly do you want this?
That's actually exactly a great way to leave it there. So looking at your career, where like
I'm sorry, I'm just looking down at my phone.
no, it's
People
fine.
are like,
Looking at your career, what are you working on now? Like where could we go to go see your work, or what are some of the bigger projects that you're working on to date?
I'm working on Geeks and Cleats right now, and of course, Black Sports Online. Um, you know, it's just a grind every day, churning out work. It's a labor of love, I must say.
What is your if you think back over your career, what is the your favorite event? Like what is the one moment that stood out to you as like you were there to cover it, or you create some content about that one event?
I don't know. It's so hard for me to think back on like one particular moment, but something recently that I did was the MLB Diversity Summit I covered, and I actually asked Bud Selig. I complimented Bud Selig, and a lot of people don't do that. Um, Bud Selig gets a lot of flack, and we all know why. But I said that for anything you have to say negative about Bud Selig, what he is good at is he's good at implementing diversity. And I just wrote a big article on MLB and the lack of blacks and not Latinos, but oh, you can't see my face? Sorry. Can you see me? Okay, so what I was talking about with Bud Selig was how he's always been good at implementing diversity. And I'm sorry, I'm just gonna move my laptop up so you can see me. Can you see me now? All right. You have to remember I'm like under 5 feet, so I'm just gonna stand and do the interview. All right. So what I was talking about with Bud Selig was just how he's always been good at tackling diversity, and just I complimented him, and it really got a standing ovation because so many people got up that day and were nailing him to the cross for steroids and pretty much, they say, ruining baseball. And I turned the whole conversation around and just shifted it and, put the ball back in his court and I wasn't mean in my approach, and people said I was very professional for how I spoke with him. And I do have a lot of critiques on baseball. I love the sport of baseball, but it is sad to watch it just erode before my eyes. And just to quietly call him out, but still compliment him at the same time, something I'm proud of.
Okay, that's definitely an interesting way to talk to Bud. I know a lot of people don't really enjoy him personally. I've never worked with him or anything like that, but that's an interesting way to look at him. What are some of the events that you would like to cover? If you look maybe 5, 10 years down the line, some events that you would have liked to have gone to and covered, or some people you would have liked to have actually sat down and had a conversation with.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Who are some of the people that you would like to interview in the sports industry, and like what are some of the events you would like to cover?
Someone who I would love to interview, I would love to interview Kobe Bryant, of course. Not even because I'm a huge fan of him, but because he's very in depth in his answers and he's very articulate. And the guy, frankly, has a big story to tell. So I would just love to pick his brain. He's so cerebral and so such a legend in this sport of basketball. It would just be nice to just have a one-on-one conversation with him.
Okay, and if you could think of any major event, like maybe the Super Bowl, maybe the World Series, what's something you would like to actually be there to cover?
What happened?
What is like a major event you would like to cover? Would it be like the Super Bowl or maybe the World Series? What's one event that if you could go to?
I've done Super Bowl events, so that I haven't covered. An event that I haven't covered that I.
One thing you haven't covered.
I want to cover beyond anything. I want to cover the French Open, Roland Garros, tennis. For all you tennis fans, I would love to go to Paris and cover 2 weeks of French Open tennis. That has always been on my bucket list, and I want to do it one day.
Why is it that stood out to you? Like, why is that the first one that came to mind?
The red clay, the history. I'm a big Rafa Nadal fan too, so to actually see him dominate on that surface and to actually touch the surface and being in Paris itself, it would just be a surreal 2 weeks. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I'd be stoked.
Good. So there's actually something that just came to mind I wanted to ask you as well. So in order, being a woman covering sports, what are some things that you think would have to change in order to improve some of the conditions that you and others work under?
What are some things we have to do as women to change?
Yeah, like what are some of the things that you think, like some of the conditions that you think would have to change in order for you and others to be able to succeed more in the industry?
Well, one thing women in particular have to stop doing is stop presenting ourselves as groupies. And, I don't like to talk about groupies and all that stuff because I don't even want that stigma around me. But I see so many girls, affixing themselves to sports, and they'll take a picture of an athlete and say, look how hot he is. That stuff is tame. But then when I see those same girls in the club with those guys posting pictures, just like we're our own biggest victims in that regard. So, we say we're ready to work, we say we're trying to make a career out of this, and then the lifestyles we live do not portray that of a professional journalist. And it's kind of sad to see. Even I've had to, we all have to clean up a little bit of our acts. I've never done anything explicit, but even the way I dress every day, I've had to tone down, little bits and pieces, because this is a 24-hour job at the end of the day. And I think a lot of women don't perceive that that's the case. And also another big thing is the lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge, definitely. You can't call yourself a sports fan if you only like football. And I think that needs to stop. If you're going to be doing this full time, you need to brush up on your knowledge of all sports. And I don't even like soccer, but if I cover soccer, I'm going to make damn sure that I know what I'm talking about. And try to engage fans from all different worlds, all different realms of sports, not just one. And then when one season ends, you got to be ready to go into the next one. NBA's over. Why aren't you watching baseball? Why aren't you following up on that? You can't limit yourself, because we're already limited, because we are minorities as women. So, yeah.
Okay, I definitely enjoy that. What do you do to kind of educate yourself about sports? You mentioned, that you have to have the knowledge base to be able to work within this industry. So what are some of the things that you do, or some of the steps that you take to just stay on top of everything?
I, I watch everything. I watch everything. When you report it for a living, it's easier to stay on top of these things. So when breaking soccer news happens, I have to read the backstory, and that's how I gradually pick up knowledge and continue to, grow in the sports. But I'm a watch first type of person. Simply watching the sport, you can learn so many things. I had no knowledge of UFC, and I covered a UFC event, and I just picked up so much that night. And even if you don't know something, don't tell people you don't know something. I engaged with UFC fans, and we talked. I picked up from them a little bit. And, personal research definitely helped. But just to see something live in action, and then from there, apply it, really, really helps.
Okay, I could definitely take that and sign off on that. That's some good advice there to provide to others. You mentioned Black Sports Online earlier in the conversation. What caused you to kind of work with them to begin with? I know that's a great site that I enjoy reading from time to time. What are some of the things that stands out most about them that caused you to join that staff?
What things stand out about Black Sports Online?
Yeah, that's correct.
I mean, it's really the best of both worlds. We do entertainment, we do the underside of sports, we do, on the court, on the field, tangible information. I love the fact that we cover everything, and we never limit ourselves. We have a wonderful team of writers. I'm very blessed to be one of them. And we are no holds bars. We cover, that's one thing that I don't think we get enough credit for at Black Sports Online. People can say whatever little thing they want when we do our gossipy stories. Like, why don't you cover this? But we're the ones actually working, during the events. We're in the press. We're interviewing players. So, but we're still reporting everything, and we're doing what ESPN does, everybody does, and we're there. I think that's something that needs more credit. And we have writers all over the country, and they cover everything. We do, pretty much what the big guys do, and we're on a much smaller level.
So thinking of it that way, what are some of your long-term goals in the industry? If you look back, I was saying, think of your overall goals in the industry. Like when you want to be, when you're finished, what should your legacy be as a sports journalist? When you're done, like how do you want people to think of Ashley Nicole's career?
My closing legacy as a sports journalist, I just want to be known as, someone who actually like knows a lot about the sport and sports in general, and not someone who got a job because looks or anything like that. I just want to be known as someone who is just an intelligent woman who just loves her job, loved her passion, and it showed and it resonated and it helped and inspired other people who thought all they were going to be in life were just fans watching the sport, and that you can do this too. It's really not hard. I don't have a fancy, sports journalist degree. I didn't go to, a big school. I wasn't a D1 athlete. I hated gym class, and I do a lot, and I'm very proud of that. And I hope that inspires people.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, I want to play a little game of word association with you. So I'm
Yeah,
going to name some personalities in the industry, and you're just going to let me know like what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of them. Okay?
let's do it.
Okay. So the first one that's going to come to mind is Roger Goodell.
Roger Goodell, Darth Vader,
Okay. Skip Bayless.
Troll,
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. How about Sage Steele?
who?
Sage Steele.
Sage Steele, uh, Disneyland. That Disney commercial, yeah, I really like that.
Okay. How about Tim Duncan?
Tim Duncan, Walmart jeans,
All right. Brett Favre.
Wrangler,
Okay. Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning.
Yes.
Well, he's a fellow big forehead committee member, so forehead.
Okay. Okay. How about Kobe Bryant?
Kobe Bean Bryant. I don't know.
And the last one I got for you is Michael Jordan.
Michael
Yeah. My.
Jordan. Gambling.
Okay. Okay. So as we
I'm
close
in.
out, I would like you
You cut
to
off for
basically.
me.
I'm sorry.
I'm.
Hey, you still there?
I
Can
didn't
you hear
say
me?
anything.
Okay. Okay. No problem. It went a little choppy for a second. So
Yeah, I hear you.
I just want you to let everybody know where they can find your work, and if they want to begin following you, let them know how they can reach out to you and touch base with you.
I can be found everywhere. But I am on Twitter at Girl Love Sports. My website is geeksandcleats.com, and I write for, of course, the fabulous and wonderful Black Sports Online. That is where I am.
Okay, good stuff. Well, again, Ashley, I definitely appreciate you coming through today and talking to me. I'm a big fan of your work, so I'm a big fan of everybody's work there. So definitely, I appreciate your time, and I will look forward to whatever you have out coming next.
Thank you.
No problem. Have a great day, and thanks everybody for watching the show today.
Thank you.